Hello, good morning, good afternoon, and evening to everyone. Welcome to live PTE. Fuck. Excuse me. Sorry, guys. Got a bit of a cough. Okay, so we're going to go live on. Give me a second, guys. I'll be back. Okay, welcome. Excuse me. Got a bit of a cough. Hey, CA, how you doing, bro? Good to see you. Good to see you guys. And we are live. We are live. I've got a bit of a cough today. Nothing serious. Just a bit. Just a cold. It's this time of the year, so I might cough. Just a little. Hope you can forgive me. Oh, you're nearly at the office. Oh, nice, nice. How's the weather? Is it cold? Oh, nice. Catch up over the week. Do you not celebrate Thanksgiving? Oh, happy Thanksgiving, everyone, by the way. Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving, by the way, to everyone. Okay, so shall we start the show then? Let's start the show. Let me share my screen. Okay, so let's share my screen. We'll go through all of the latest stories that's happening around the world. Let's go for it. So the first story, as you can see, I'm just sharing some old clips here. This was pre-October the 7th. People love to start with the date, October the 7th. And every time you try and have a conversation with someone, and you have these stupid journalists, who always say, oh, October the 7th, October the 7th. But a lot of them actually don't realize that nothing is that obvious. Nothing, starts with one date. People forget what happens before the date, and people forget the context. For example, those of you who have seen the Ukraine war, for example, in the beginning, when Russia went into Ukraine, you can see all of social media exploding. A lot of people on YouTube were exploding. All the news media were exploding. And they're all saying Russia's gone into Ukraine for no apparent reason. Putin just woke up from his bed one morning and said to himself, you know what I'm going to do today? I'm going to go and invade Ukraine for no reason whatsoever. This is what I'm going to do today because I'm bored, and this is something I want to do. So I'm going to go and do it. So they made Putin look like an evil dictator, goes around, taking down this country, invading these countries for no apparent reason. No media source and no YouTubers and none of these idiots in TikTok and social media and Twitter, none of them mention anything about the Minsk agreements or what happened in 2014 or what happened with the coup. None of them mention about the fact that Ukraine was attacking Donbass. None of that. And none of them mentioned the fact that Ukraine was harboring neo-Nazis. And the same you have in Gaza as well. Basically, everything happened from October the 7th. Forget about 75 years of persecution of the people in Gaza. Forget about the fact that all of these people are being held in concentration camps. Forget about the fact that, food water, medicine, anything that you need to live on is controlled by Israel. Forget all of that. Forget about the fact that they are stealing these people's homes on a regular basis, killing them, putting kids in prison. And I mean, this clip just shows it. And people just forget about the context to everything that took place, before October the 7th. And I saw an interview today with Piers Morgan, and he had interview with somebody called Finkelstein, I believe. This is the guy, Finkelstein, and he made a very, very good. I thought it was a very good interview, and I don't know if I should just share this with you guys, but I thought it's a really, really good point that he made at the end, and I'll share it with you.
You are the son of two people who survived the Holocaust, who were both in concentration camps. You're a Jewish man, and you know how incendiary that Substack has proven to be with Jewish people around the world, many of whom have felt this is the nearest thing to the Holocaust of World War II that they've endured. What your parents went through, being revisited on them in these kibbutzes on October the 7th. What do you feel about them? I mean, how would your parents have felt about you literally on the day that this happened, talking about heroic resistance, talking about that you will never begrudge the scenes, that the stars in heaven are looking kindly down, glory, glory, the souls of Gaza go marching on. How would your parents have felt about that, coming out of concentration camps, surviving the Holocaust of World War II?
Well, first of all, anything I write, I have my parents looking at the screen behind me over my shoulders in a metaphorical sense. I am very conscious every moment of my existence. Every moment of my existence goes back to the martyrdom of my family. So it's not as if suddenly you're posing a question to me that never occurred to me. Quite the contrary, I do need, even 30 years, the moral validation that came from my parents' martyrdom and the extermination of their family.
Sorry about that, guys. Don't know what's happened.
Family.
Oh.
How would my parents have reacted? My guess is if on the first day they heard that inmates in a concentration camp burst its gates, I think my parents would be very pleased at that fact. As the events became clearer, my guess, but this is pure speculation, my guess is my parents would go out with their hearts, would go out to those who burst the gates of the concentration camp and whose lives were destroyed. Now, you will say to me, completely legitimately, you would say, well, what would your parents feel about the innocents who were slaughtered in the atrocities on that date? So I'm going to give you as close an answer as I could give, as I'm able to. I once asked my late mother, I said to her, what was your feeling when you heard that the German cities were being terror bombed during World War II? The carpet bombing of the German cities targeting civilians. What was your feeling? And my mother's response to me was, quote, our feeling was, if we're going to die, we're going to take some of them with us. Now, that's not the most morally elevated statement. I agree. And do I wish my mother had and my father had a heightened sensitivity to German civilian life? I suppose I would wish it. But I will tell you, Piers, to the last day of my parents' life, it was unthinkable that they would have a kind word to say about Germans. And it was unthinkable that I would ever quarrel with them on that point.
Okay.
I accepted that given their life experience, they
Okay.
had the right to hate the people who destroyed their lives.
Okay.
And the people
Professor
of
Finkelstein.
Gaza have the right to hate the people who destroyed their lives.
Professor.
So you can see what a great point he made. I mean, this guy, he's a Jew, and his parents were in the Holocaust, and he's made a great point. And Piers Morgan tried to trap him here. Piers Morgan tried to trap him by saying, what would your parents think? Because here you are supporting the Palestinians, here you are supporting the Gaza, people in Gaza. So what would your parents think of you doing that? And he's made a really great comeback. And the fact that he said his own mother and his own father would basically say that, they had so much hate for the Germans at the time because they were kept in concentration camps, they were kept in inhumane conditions. And when you're kept in these kind of inhumane conditions, we cannot compare what life would have been like there. I mean, come on, this is like being in a cage. I mean, we are lucky. Here I am doing YouTube videos. Here you are, you guys are, you have your lives and you have your freedom, and you can go out and get a job wherever you want. You can go out and travel. You can you can have a career. You can do what you want. But these people in Gaza whose land is being taken away, whose parents are being killed on a regular basis, freedoms are taken away, food, water, medicine is being controlled. What goes in and out is controlled. You're not allowed to travel. You're not allowed to do anything. 70-80% of people living in Gaza don't have jobs. They have nothing to look forward to. They have no lives. Of course, they're going to be hating the Israelis, and not just the military. They're going to hate all Israelis because the way they are brought up, they're going to think that all Israelis are the same, and they're all treating them in this way. So obviously they're going to have a hate of Israelis. And the same way this guy has made a point that his mother and father hated all the Germans at the time. And he said that his mother would absolutely, have a heart full of these guys coming out of concentration camps and doing what they did. She would basically support that. And anybody would do that because you have to understand, Israel is the occupier, and these Palestinians are being occupied. And in international law, right, in international law, a country being occupied can fight back in any way whatsoever. So this talk about the terrorism and October 7th, it's all baloney, guys. It's just basically the Israelis basically trying to cover for their occupation crimes, and they're trying to turn this into some sort of terrorist attack. It's not a terrorist attack. I mean, look, this has happened throughout history. Britain, I live in UK at the moment. Britain was, subjugating people in Ireland and Scotland for years, way before I was born. And people in Scotland wanted independence, and you've seen the film Braveheart and stuff. And even like before I was born, there was the IRA bombings and stuff that was happening, and obviously it was still not as bad as that, because at the end of the day, Ireland was never a concentration camp for the British. It was never as bad as an extreme like what Israelis are doing to the Palestinians. But it just gives you a little bit of an idea how people do not like being occupied. And yeah, it's just we as human beings, we cannot compare ourselves to what these Palestinians are going through on a day-by-day basis, watching the land being taken has been ignoring it for years. How many years now? Well, probably 75 years or something. They were promised a two-state solution, and every day that goes past, Israel is taking more and more of their land, and this two-state solution is disappearing day by day. So these people have got no hope. So the only hope they have is to basically fight, and this is what they're doing. And the whole world is seeing what Israel has been doing now. I think this is a major wake-up call for the world, because a lot of the Gen Zs, when I say Gen Zs, guys, I'm talking about the young people who are on the internet, the 16-year-old, 16 to, you know, the late, they call it Gen Z because they're the latest generation. I'll probably call it younger than 16, but let's say 13 when you're kind of old enough to kind of understand what's going on in the world. 13 to maybe 18 or 21 even. And these kids who never knew anything about Palestine or Israel or Gaza, suddenly they're on social media and they're seeing all of these images of dead kids. They're seeing all these images of fathers and mothers losing their child, whole families being destroyed, hospitals being bombed, schools being bombed, children who got their heads blown off, their arms and limbs blown off. And these kids are watching these, on live, on Twitter, on Instagram, on TikTok. So obviously they're going to be questioning things, and they'll be like, "Oh my God, what the hell is going on? This is not something they've taught us in schools. This is not something they've taught us in history. What the hell is this?" So they have lost the entire Gen Z's generation. The Gen Z's generation is basically wants stop to this, and everyone's asking questions, and Israel is trying their hardest to kind of propaganda all of this stuff, but it's not working because the Muslim world, there's 2 billion Muslims living in this world, and they're living all over the world. Some of the largest countries have got huge Muslim populations. I'm talking about Pakistan, Bangladesh, Indonesia, Malaysia, obviously the Middle East as well. But and there's a lot of Muslims living in the West as well. Like America's got millions of Muslims there, and in UK and rest of Europe, there's millions of Muslims in. They're all over the world, basically 2 billion, and obviously they're going to be sharing their. They're all going to be on the side of Palestine because these are their Muslim brothers and sisters being killed, and they're going to be on the side of Palestine. So they're going to be sharing all this stuff on social media. And how many Jewish people are there in the world? There is not enough Jewish people. I think there's only 0.3% of the population of the world is Jewish. But the 0.3% of the world population who are Jewish, they are extremely powerful. And these Jewish guys own everything. They own media companies. They own film studios. They own, some of them own Disney, and they own, like fast food stores. You got, Zuckerberg owning Facebook and Instagram. And a couple of days ago, there was this actress who played in Scream. It's a Hollywood film. It's a horror film. And she posted something about Palestine. And the next day she got sacked. They were filming Scream 7, Part 7, actress in the franchise. And they sacked her because of pro-Palestinian views. Because the owner of the film studio is Jewish. And Jews own all of Hollywood. All of these woke nonsense that's coming out of Hollywood from Disney and all these other studios, all this woke nonsense is coming out of Jews. Because, I saw this other video the other day, and I read a book. And apparently all of this wokeism is coming from Jewish people and Jewish companies. And it's all because they want to destroy other societies. They want to destroy other religions because they think that they are the special ones. They think that they are God's chosen people in this earth. They don't care about Christians or Muslims or Buddhists, Hindus, or anybody else. They feel that they are the chosen ones. So all this wokeism that's coming out, being sent all over the world, is basically to destroy society. So when you have wokeism, is like, you know, you're promoting trans and bis and gays. So if you're normalizing gays and trans and bis and stuff like that, that means Christians and Muslims and other people around the world will have less babies, because if you're gay, you're not going to have babies, right? You know, physically you can't do it. Oh shit. Sorry guys, my screen is frozen up. Give me a second and I'll come back to you. Oh god, shit, fucking hell. Give me a second, guys. Apologies, guys. My screen frozen up and lost you for a second. And let me go back in. Excuse me. So yeah, I was basically talking about Jewish people, and they feel that they are the chosen ones, and they are basically trying to destroy society with their wokeism. So a big part of wokeism is to normalize trans, gays, bis. They're also kind of normalizing obese people. They are helping, like, they are bringing up feminism as well. And I can kind of go. I've read this book, and I've kind of gone through some YouTube channels, and it's all common sense. Basically, it's all out there to destroy society. Basically, so you know they've kind of increased feminism as well. Feminists, and they don't have kids because first of all they're just too busy. They want to focus on their careers. You know, they don't want to have kids. They want to go out, have fun, be promiscuous, and you know they want to kind of live their lives, and they don't really care about families and stuff like that. Women have lost their sense of being feminine. They've lost themselves basically. They are becoming masculine. You know, they're becoming masculine, and they are also making men feminine as well. And you see that in all kind of Hollywood shows and stuff like that. How, you know, if you try and be a masculine male, they call it toxic masculinity. So they're trying to feminize men and they're trying to masculate women. They're obviously trying to like promote gays, lesbians, trans as well. And they're trying to promote other things like obesity. And so it's all related, guys. It's all out there to destroy society. And it's not and it's not a coincidence that all of these companies that are woke, they're all Jewish or Jewish owned or Jewish funded, all of them. For example, all of the fast food restaurants, right? McDonald's and stuff. So why would they promote all of these stuff as part of the wokeism? So when you walk down the street, you don't see any thin women in massive posters anymore. You're gonna see fat women, obese women in you know, post. If you walk alongside Ann Summers, for example, you're gonna see big obese women with bikinis or some, you know, underwear and stuff. Yeah, if you walk down the high street, if you walk past Selfridges, you're gonna see big women advertising themselves. So this is all coming from these Jewish fast food companies like McDonald's, KFC. These are all Jewish owned, all these fast food companies. Then you have all these companies like Disney, Paramount, and all these other companies that promote their wokeism, woke nonsense. Like you see all these Marvel shows that become woke, these Star Wars that come out of like Disney on television, and everything's just woke because they're all owned by these Jewish conglomerates. So anything basically Jewish related is just pushing for wokeism, and they've also obviously tried to do wokeism with the Bud Light thing as well, and that failed miserably. So it's all coming from Jews, and it's all out there to destroy society, and they're doing that on purpose. This is not an accident. This is all coming on purpose. But luckily, the world is rejecting it. You see the term "go woke, go broke." Any company that decides to go woke goes broke straight away, and you see Disney shares of going down. You see like Bud Light and stuff like that. These companies are going down. Any companies that tries to go woke immediately goes broke straight away. So this wokeism coming out of these Jewish companies is not working. So that's what I'm trying to say, guys. I mean, just kind of have an open mind, the way the world works, and why we are kind of going through all of these wokeism stuff right now. Where it's all coming from, which companies is coming from. If you do your research, you'll find that most of these companies are Jewish, or Jewish owned, and we're all being controlled. We're all being controlled by Jews, and even though they're a small minority of people around the world, they are very, very powerful and influential as well. And these small Jewish people have got their claws in very, very high positions. They've got their claws in American politics. They've got their claws in British politics, European politics. Very recently, Argentinian politics. The new guy who's been voted in Argentine. He's a very avid Jewish supporter, and he's been voted in. Is no accident that he's come on at this time. And the recent Netherlands Prime Minister, who's just been voted in, he's also a very friendly Jewish supporter as well. So all of these pro-Jewish guys, and Maloney is pro-Jewish as well. So all of these, pro-Jewish politicians are suddenly coming into power. Because can you see how the world is kind of moving? Can you see how the world is being shaped with these pro-Jewish people? And American politics has been run by Jews for years now. American politics is being run by its foreign policy has been run by Jews for a long time. And I think America has lost its identity because these Jewish people have gone into the Congress, Senates, military-industrial complex, and they're just running the show. And there was a time when America was great. He wasn't influenced by the Jewish, Israeli lobby. America had his own kind of. There was a time when America was great. America was moving in the right direction, but he was This was happening way before September 11th, guys. And I think I don't want to give you exact dates, but this has been coming for a while now, at least 30, 40 years. He was in the making. And I think it's probably started. Israel was formulated in 1948, and once Israel has been formulated, obviously they were given a lot of, people felt a lot sorry for them, so they put a lot of Jews in high positions. They've gave a lot of Jews a lot of money. So you know what happens when a race gets when the race has a complete Holocaust done against them. People feel sorry for them, so they give them basically everything. They give them a lot of money. That's how the world works. If you're somebody you've had something really bad happen to you, everyone else will kind of give you everything they have, give you money. And this is how Jewish people got very rich over the years, because they've had huge amounts of handouts after the Holocaust. They were given free properties, free land. You got free Israel. And Israel has been getting money from United States, Europe since 1948, and this is why they're so rich. They've had pretty much a free military budget. They've been getting free from the Europeans as well. So, and a lot of Jewish people have become very rich because they've had free handouts and they've gone into powerful positions, and that's how Jewish people have gone to where they are today. But however, what they were subjected to in by Hitler back in the day, now what they're doing now, they're doing exactly the same thing Hitler did to them. Basically, they have been given so much handouts that they've been spoiled. You know, when you have a kid and you give give your kid everything that he or she ever wanted, you spoil them rotten. These kids are going to be rotten human beings, because if you're not giving your kids a value of money, or a value of working hard to get what they want, rather than giving everything on a silver plate, these people are going to be the worst humans, because they're going to be spoilt. They're not going to understand the value of hard work. They're not going to understand the value of money, and they expect handouts all the time. You know, and this is what's happened to the Jewish people. They've been given so much handouts that now they feel that they are God's given right, and they feel that they're God's given people that expect everything, and they can do whatever the hell they want. The world can't do anything, and this is why they're going around killing kids and women. They feel that they can go ahead and do whatever the hell they want, forget about human rights, and nobody can stop them, because they are God's chosen people. And yeah, I'm ranting, guys. I'm ranting. I know I'm ranting, but that's how it is. That's how it is. And you know, you guys can agree with me or not. But yeah, do you guys have any question? You guys have any questions? Let me know. I'm gonna kind of stop talking for a bit and listen to you guys. Do you agree with me or not? Do you think, do you see I've got a point? So John L said it's extraordinary legalistic religion is pretty black and white. Excuse me. Hung says just as State Department personnel, Blinken, Nuland, and Sherman, exactly. And there was another guy who's an advisor of Obama, and he was also working with Madeleine Albright during the Iraq War. And Madeleine Albright famously came on national television, and somebody asked her, was it worth killing all these millions of Iraqi kids just to go into Iraq for weapons of mass destruction? And she said, yeah, it was worth killing all these kids. And this guy was working with Madeleine Albright. So he was caught a couple of days ago harassing a New York guy selling burgers in the street, and he was basically telling him, he was insulting him about his religion. He was basically threatening him, and he was also saying all of these 4,000 Palestinian kids that died in Gaza, it's not enough. Basically, he said it's not enough. So this guy, who was actively working with Madeleine Albright and Obama, is basically going around saying is killing kids is okay. And this guy was advising Obama and other important people during the time. And he just goes to show the kind of people working for the US government. And it's quite sickening, to be honest. Absolutely sickening. Listen, let me go down to see what the story is there is. So this lady here, during an interview, obviously I'm not going to play it because she doesn't speak English. But in the interview, she's basically saying once Israel level Gaza, she says the world needs to take a quota of Palestinian people. So she's saying there's 2 million Palestinian people, and if each country takes 50,000 people each, that should cover all the Palestinians, basically. So basically, she's basically saying that Israel wants to turn Gaza into rubble, and she wants all the countries around the world to take Palestinians, 50,000 each, basically, and that will basically cover the 2 million or so homeless Palestinians. So that's what she's saying on national television, and it just goes to show their intention. And this is what you call genocide. Genocide is not all about killing everyone. It's also about displacing everyone. So if you displace 2 million people from Gaza and there's nobody left in Gaza, that's genocide, because there's no Palestinians left, there's no Gazan left in that land, and Israel would take it over and do whatever they want with it. So you see how genocide, it comes in different forms, and this is one way to cause genocide, is basically and this is what Americans did to the Red Indians. They took their land. Excuse me. They took their land, and that was genocide, because they've taken their land, their resources, their culture, and now there's not many Red Indians left in the United States. There's very, very little. I mean, I went to United States, and I went actually looking for them, and could not find any. And I mean, I did find a few if you look for them hard enough, but these people have completely been genocided. All their culture, their land, heritage, everything's been lost, and this is what they want to do to Palestine. So there's some riots going on in Dublin, as you can see, and this is because a couple of kids got stabbed, and apparently it was an immigrant that stabbed them. So obviously people in Dublin are not very happy. So this is another crime happening in the West Bank. Some Israeli officers came and shot this kid's father for no reason, killed him. And this happens on a regular basis. People in West Bank are just being killed and taken hostage. And happens on a regular basis. And nobody in the world does anything about it. Nobody. And this is that Dublin protest going on. And this is the Netherlands new prime minister, is it? Or president? I'm not sure. Yeah, I think I can't remember, but he's the leader of the new Netherlands, and he's a very extreme. He's like a Donald Trump, but also, if you notice, they called that Millie guy in Argentina the Argentinian Donald Trump as well. So these guys are all very similar characters, and they have one thing in common: they're all pro-Jew or pro-Israeli. So this is all. It's not a coincidence, guys. This is all planned, and this is all part of the democracy process. If they like you, if you're part of a democracy, right, and you have the backing, say Millie or this guy. Say I'll give you an example. Just say Millie, the Argentinian guy. He basically says, okay, I'm pro-Israeli, I'm pro-America. I want to stand in the next elections, but I need backing, I need money. Can you support me? America will give him all the money he needs. Israel will give him all the money he needs. And with this money, he can do his campaigns, he can do his marketing, because to win a general election, you need a lot of money behind you, because you need to go on these campaign trails. You need a lot of money for marketing, so you need a lot of ads on television. You need a lot of interviews. You need a lot of kind of marketing stuff like papers and leaflets, and you need people out in the streets giving out leaflets and stuff. So you need a lot of money to be able to do all this stuff. So if America provides all the money, if they like you, if they like your policies, if America provides him all the money, Israel provides him all the money, and they said, like, if you win, if we will give you everything you need, if you win, you basically sell out your country. You give us all of you basically let our companies come in, take your resources. You do this, you get rid of China, you get out of BRICS, you do all of this stuff, and that's the cost. But we'll give you everything, all the money that you need, and you basically shake your hands with the devil. So this is how these guys win. You know, in a democracy, you need a lot of money, you need a lot of backing behind you. And if these if these American, think tanks and NEDs and all these other companies like who you are, like what you represent, they will give you all the money you need to make sure you win. And this is why you have these people in power, like this guy in the Dutch Parliament, and Guy Millie. And again, it's the same everywhere in the world. You have the South Korean loony as well, who's recently come into power. He obviously doesn't know what the hell he's doing, but he's come into power because he's pro-American. You got the loony in the Philippines who wants to start a fight with China. He's also doesn't know what he's doing, but he's also obviously being paid by the Americans to start a fight with China. Obviously, you can talk about Taiwan, you can talk about Ukraine. Everything that all of these crazy loonies in these world, in the world who have taken power, they have no interest for their own country. The only interest they have is about themselves. They only care about themselves. Like the South Korean guy comes to the United States to sing American Pie. He's like a jester, right? He's like a court jester. He's just come in to sing for the Americans. He's just there to entertain the white Americans, the little Asian man who's come to sing for them. He's not going to be taken seriously. Every time he goes to America, all the Americans are just going to laugh at him, saying, "Oh, look, it's that little Asian guy who sings for us." Do you see President Xi going to the United States and singing for Biden? Do you see Putin going to America and singing for Biden? No way, because these are serious people running serious countries and in serious positions. You don't go around singing American Pie, going to America. I mean, that is just, that is stupid. That is ridiculous. Oh man, this is the more I talk about it, the more idiotic the world sounds. Seriously, it's absolutely ridiculous. So this is a good video. I want to kind of show you this.
It may seem that Israel is winning because they are unaliving a lot of civilians, but in reality, they are losing. Let me tell you how. Their currency went down by 3%. Their stocks lost 11%, which means $40 billion. Tourism is zero now. Investments are zero. Factories have stopped completely. Schools, offices, and companies are all closed. 240 million are their military losses daily. More than 4,000 soldiers refuse to join the war. 400 pilots refuse to join the war. More than 500,000 Israelis are displaced from their homes. Their people are going against the government and creating protests every day. Tel Aviv became a ghost city. The whole world is knowing the reality, and their propaganda is over. The world is impressed by the Palestinian faith, resulting in some of them converting into Islam because of how impressed they are by the Palestinians and by their resilience. So all of these are wins for the Palestinians.
And she's made a good point, guys, because Israel is losing a lot, if you think about it. I mean, this war, you have one Hamas guy building a rocket in his backyard, and this rocket takes out a tank, which is worth 3 million. And if 10 tanks are taken out, that's 30 million, and everything starts adding up. Then you start taking out Bradley vehicles and other, vehicles, and then you got to pay for the army, you got to pay for all these reservists. lots of bullets, ammunition, and weapons. All these sorties that they have to do, all these drops, bombs that they have to drop. But wars are expensive, and you can see, you can see with Ukraine. They're having this war with Russia, and over the 2 years, how much money has Ukraine got from the West? And I think it's over like 300 or 400 billion. I think 200 billion officially in aid. I think 100 billion in military aid, and another 100 billion by other means like private companies and people giving charities and stuff like that, and other ways they've kind of made their money. So between 300 and 400 billion that Ukraine has already spent over the past 2 years. Israel is probably going to spend probably not as much as Ukraine, but maybe even half of that. It really does depend how long this war lasts. I would probably say Israel would probably spend about 100 billion if this war goes on until next year. And America's going to have to pay for it all. The Europeans obviously paying for it. Rest of the world is not going to pay for it because they are seeing what kind of genocide Israel is causing, and the only people who are going to pay for it is Americans and the Europeans. I don't even know if the Europeans can afford it, to be honest, because they've got no money left, and they've got everything. They're putting everything into Ukraine because the Ukraine money from the United States is drying up, meaning that Ukraine will need European money, and it's in Europeans' interest to make sure Ukraine stays alive and well. So the Europeans will throw whatever money they can into Ukraine, and I don't think they have much money left for Israel. So Israel will depend totally on United States, and with the way economy is moving right now, I don't think that's going to last. I think if this war goes on another 6 months, more innocent people are being killed day by day. American public opinion will shift, and don't forget next year is going to be election year as well for Biden. So he's not going to want this war to be basically affecting his results. So he's going to want this war to be ended like this year or as soon as possible. But I don't see how this will end as soon as possible, because Israel obviously wants to occupy Gaza, and that they have made the intentions clear. And if they occupy Gaza, then there's going to be guerrilla warfare going on for a long time. A long time, could last years. So we'll see how things go anyway. So by the way, guys, do you have any questions for me? Let's take a little bit of break and take your questions. Let's see if you got any. Don't forget to put Q in questions and I'll answer it for you. And also try and like as well. Helps with the algorithm. Hey Bridget, how you doing? So Zionism is evil, not regular Jews usually, but these Zionists are exceptionalism, so extreme like Nazis are in power for now. Yes, I agree with you. So when I say Jews, I don't mean all Jews are bad. I mean the extreme ones like the Zionists and stuff like that. You're 100% right. I mean, there are Jews who are completely against what's happening right now. Like the guy Finkelstein I was interviewing, he was against what's happening. He was completely pro-Palestinian. So not all Jews. I mean, yeah, you're 100% right. It's the Zionists, and Zionists is a problem. The extreme ones. And let's see what other questions you have. Hey, Zuge, how you doing, bro? A long time. So let's see what question you have. Israelis living amongst Arabs is equivalent to white family living in a black neighborhood in America. That's correct. Yeah, they're completely segregated. And this hate is going to go on for a long time, because the Arabs, the longer this war goes on, and I mean, these images of kids being killed, they are not going to disappear overnight. These are going to be long lasting. This is going to last a whole generation. And yeah, there's going to be hate there, definitely. This is not going to disappear within a year or two. I would probably say maybe it will take 20, 30 years. So what other questions do you have for me? Anyone has any questions? Let's see. So Christine says, will NATO admit defeat in Ukraine? No, I don't think they will admit defeat in Ukraine. They will put as much money into Ukraine as they can, and Europeans will put as much money into Ukraine as they can. Ukraine will probably last, I would estimate, another year or so, because American money will dry up next year, and Ukraine will carry on fighting unless they get rid of Zelensky. Because as long as Zelensky is in power, he will carry on fighting. And yeah, I think Europe will carry on putting money into Ukraine, and they've said that. I mean, Joseph Borrell has said that American money will dry up. That means all the headache will go into the European countries to provide more to cover what the Americans would usually give. So some more burden will be going on to the European side, which means that not only will Ukraine collapse eventually, Europe will collapse with it. It's what you called, I think Alex mentioned it the other day, is sink fallacy or something. Sink fallacies. It's like when you're on trading and you're losing in trading, and you put more money into it, and you don't want to cancel because you're hoping that the money you're hoping that the market will turn and you'll make that money back, but the market never turns. It just goes down and down and down, and soon you lose everything you have. And this is what's happening with Ukraine, and this is what's happening with Europe. So I think Europe will go down with the Ukraine, unfortunately, and yeah, that's how it's looking. So Rolf, how you doing, bro? The Argentinian leader Javier Milei could invade the Falklands to unify Argentina. I don't think he will do that because who's under the thumb of the United States, and the United States will never allow that. So, so I think he's going to be a puppet of the United States, unfortunately. I think he had to say that. I think he came online and said that, you know, Malvinas is part of Argentina or something, but he had to say that because otherwise Argentinian people will reject him. This is unnegotiable for the people of Argentina. So he had to say that, but I don't think he's going to do anything. You know, he said in an interview not long ago that he admires Thatcher, and he's a big American stooge, which means he's also a European stooge, which means he's also an Israeli stooge. So he's not going to do anything that the Americans don't want him to do. So I've got another questions here. I don't know your name, brother. Your name's a bit mungled up. I'll answer it. Why are the Brits so weak compared to the Irish? Cocked nation. Yeah, so they are very. The problem with British is like Britain used to be an empire long ago, and this is what happens to a dying empire. They want to keep that empire status. They want to keep that power. And the way they think that they can have that power is if they align themselves with the most powerful nation in the world, which is the United States. And this is what UK has done. They align themselves with the most powerful country in the world, and that's how they feel that they've still got that power. It's like it's like a bully used to bully everyone in the playground until a bigger bully comes along, and this bigger bully starts bullying everyone in the playground, and the smaller bully is in the background, and the only way smaller bully can make himself become, you know, important is to be a friend of that big bully. So this is what Britain has become a vassal state of the United States, and unfortunately Britain has long lost its empire status, and the people that live in Britain still feel that they are still important, they're still powerful, they're extremely racist, they've got no backbone, their foreign policy has been, outsourced to United States, and that's a problem really. And the reason the Irish are extremely vocal when it comes to Palestine is because the Irish were brutally oppressed by the British or the English for a long time. So the Irish people see similarities how Palestinians are being treated, and how the Irish were being treated by the English. So this is why the Irish are speaking out, because the Irish used to be a colonized state by the English until Republic of Ireland became independent. So this is why they're supporting Palestine. Okay, so next question. So I've got somebody on Twitter. Do you have any questions that you want to talk about, Robban? Do you want to say anything? Or you're just listening? That's fine if you're just listening. I'll continue. Just seeing if there's any other questions. If not, I'll continue with the show. So, oh, you have Elon Musk lookalike there in China, which is very, very remarkable. And so these are the two guys that were harassed by that guy. I can't remember his name. This is the final map of Ukraine, how it'll probably look like once the war is over. You can see Odessa has been taken, and Kharkiv has been taken as well. But we'll see how things go on that side of things. These are Israelis taking a 5-year-old child. You can see they're abducting him. They're going to put him in prison for throwing a rock. So a lot of these kids that throw rocks get arrested, get taken into prisons. So this is the guy. I can't remember his name. Let me find out his name. I'll get to that bit. So this is a good bit in the UN, and this is the Israelis talking a lot of nonsense, and the Chinese basically had to shut them down. And watch this. This is so funny.
You UN women, shame on you. Is UN women not charged with ensuring that, I quote from their website, all women and girls.
尊敬的以色列代表，我想提醒你，
Look at them.
你可以
They
在
all,
发言中完
they all
全
grabbing
表
their
达你的
mics.
不同意见，但请对会议所邀请的同胞人保持起码的尊重，这是安理会的一贯的惯例，也是大家都应该遵守的规则。我提醒你注意，我请你继续发言。
So you can see how they got immediately shut down when they tried to be too clever and rude. So this is the guy I was talking about, Stuart Seldowitz. So Stuart Seldowitz has basically tried to harass two guys, and I want you to kind of listen to this. This is a video by Loki, and this kind of will probably explain it a lot better than I do. So I want you to kind of listen to this video.
Now, we've all seen this footage of Stuart Seldowitz abusing a street vendor in New York.
We killed 4,000 Palestinian kids. You know what? It wasn't enough.
But who is Stuart Seldowitz, and what has he been a part of for all of these years? Stuart Seldowitz, the 3-time recipient of the State Department's Superior Honor Award. He served in the State Department in their Office of Israel and Palestine Affairs as Deputy Director during the Bush years. This racist man had a role in managing the lie of the two-state solution. The two-state solution that was the subterfuge through which Palestinians have been continually battered by years of Israeli occupation. The PR drive around the world, the mirage for a future that never existed. Stuart Seldowitz also was a national security advisor to President Obama, the same President Obama who led the NATO intervention of Libya, which saw the country bombed 7,000 times in a 6-month period, that led to Libyans trying to escape and drowning in the Mediterranean. His words are not just frivolous sentences coming out of the mouth of a racist, they are actual policy.
Paparazzi in Egypt will get your parents. Go. Does your father like his fingernails? They'll take them out one by one.
When he speaks so easily of fingernails being removed by pro-Israel and pro-US dictators, he is not simply using poetic flair. He means people have their fingernails removed by those who are merely satraps of the US empire. What we heard on the streets of New York was an articulation of what has been effectively US policy towards the region throughout the time that that gentleman has been employed by the US State Department. But beyond the outrage and the immediate association of Stuart Seldowitz with the US government, Obama and Bush, and bipartisan necropolitics of US empire, let's also look at the place that listed him as an employee at the time of his harassment of this man on the streets of New York. Stuart Seldowitz was listed as an employee of Gotham Government Relations. This is a lobby group for hire that has very close connection to the Israeli government. Shai Franklin, a key figure at Gotham Government Relations, was simultaneously employed by the Israel-Kosovo Chamber of Commerce and has gone to great lengths to state his support for Israel throughout this horrendous war on Gaza, even helping to organize pro-Israel demonstrations that were attended by Seldowitz himself. In addition to that, you have the case of Gary Ackerman, a US congressman registered as an employee of Gotham Government Relations. Now, when Gary Ackerman was in US Congress, his relationship with AIPAC was so close and so well known that he even intervened and assisted in the release of an Israeli prisoner of war. You also have Gotham Government Relations on record attending a celebration for Israel's 70th anniversary at the United Nations alongside Danny Danon, Israel's ambassador to the United Nations. You also have Gotham Government Relations working for Donald Trump in his first presidential campaign. And during that time, it was alleged that Gotham Government Relations paid actors $50 each to be part of a cheering crowd for Donald Trump, the president-to-be. Stuart Seldowitz is not an aberration. He is part of a wider push across these last decades that have seen genocidal wars visited upon people of Western Asia, the Middle East, and further afield. It has seen people of Afghanistan eviscerated by NATO's occupation. It's seen people of Iraq bombed with depleted uranium, which would ensure that future generations were likely to be born in horrific circumstances, and an increase of cancer which was even larger than that left in Hiroshima. The wars that Stuart Seldowitz and his government exacted upon the rest of the world caused unspeakable human suffering. And so the ideas that we hear and revile at when he spoke them to a street vendor in New York were not merely poetic flair, they were actual policy.
Sorry, guys, my screen's frozen again. Let me just sort this out. Sorry, my screen frozen again. So I hope you got all of that. So you can see, I can't remember his name, Seldowitz. So he was not an ordinary guy harassing people in the streets of New York. This guy had a lot of power. You know, you can see he worked with Obama. He's worked with Madeleine Albright. So he was involved in the Iraq War. He was involved in all the wars that Obama was fighting in. Obviously, when Obama was there, he was fighting in Syria and Libya and many other places as well, and all these drone attacks. So this guy going around abusing these workers in streets of New York, saying 4,000 babies killed is not enough. So obviously he thinks of Arabs as subhuman. If killed is not enough, you think of Arabs and killing kids as subhuman. I mean, this is beyond sick, right? I mean, this is beyond human rights. This is like, these are children. I mean, we're talking about children here. These are innocent children who are not Hamas, who have not done anything wrong in their lives. These are just children who are being born, you know. And end of the day, we're all human beings. End of the day, we're all brothers and sisters, whether we're black, white, you know, Chinese or Jew or Muslim or Hindu. You know, end of the day, we're all human beings. We're all brothers and sisters. We all come from the same earth. We all have the same insides. Yeah, we look different on the outside, but end of the day, we're all humans on the inside, right? And for this guy to say like it's okay to kill 4,000 babies and it's not enough, it just shows that this guy is beyond sick. And this guy was basically running U.S. policy. And it goes to show who else is running US policy. If this guy was running US policy back then, who the hell is running US policy now? I mean, whoever it is, it's the same thing. You know, you have US basically supporting this genocide. You have Europeans supporting this genocide. So whoever's kind of running the show now, whoever's advising Biden and all these other people who are running the show, they're obviously the same kind of people who don't care about kids being killed and stuff. So it's crazy, guys. It's crazy. So I'm just gonna go for a few more things, and then I'm gonna ask for questions at the end. So this lady here I was talking about, she's a part of the Scream franchise, and she's the one that got sacked. She came on Instagram today and she supported her views, and she said something along the lines of, I stand about Palestine and this is a genocide going on. Even though the fact that it's cost me my job, I'm going to stand by my views. And her co-star is a girl called Ortega, and she was in Wednesday in Netflix, and she's a big star as well. And she also decided to quit because the main actress, this girl, has been sacked. So they both kind of quit from the Scream franchise. So I did like the Scream franchise, but I'm never going to watch it anymore. I think I'm going to boycott it. And I hope you guys do the same as well. So this lady, I don't know who that is. It's Modi and Netanyahu, best of pals. Oh, this is Ortega. This is Ortega I was talking about. So she's basically requested the termination of a contract with Scream franchise. So yeah, it's really good on her. There's, you know, you have to respect people that stand on the right side of history and don't care about jobs or status. You know, they basically have morals and they go by what they feel and believe. So this is the Israeli football team being booed. So you can see. So that's the Israeli football team being booed. So they're going to be booed for a long time wherever they play. And so I want you to listen to Putin here. So basically, Putin is saying that when he was having the war with Ukraine, the West was saying, oh, it's shocking that Russia's doing this, shocking that Russia's blowing up this city here, blowing up infrastructure, blowing up hospitals, schools. But Putin said, was it not shocking that Israel is doing it to Palestine? Was it not shocking that Israel is killing kids? Was it not shocking that Israel is committing genocide? So it just shows that double standards from the West. That's what Putin was trying to basically say. So this is the kind of woke stuff that's happening in Star Wars. And I just love this. Oh my God. Oh my God. There's a massive spider. It just came out of nowhere. It's massive. Right. I don't know if I got it, guys, but it was a massive spider. It was huge. Hang on. I have not got it. Right there. I think I've got it now. Sorry about that. That was you can't understand how big it was. It's massive. Anyway, back to the show. So this is a funny meme here of Star Wars. I was assigned Palpatine at birth, but I was identified as Skywalker. This is a joke. If you watch Star Wars, you'll understand why. So Germany's going down. So this is that girl from the Scream franchise, and you can see she's very good. She's very pretty, and definitely not gonna watch Scream anymore. Some mass graves in Gaza. She's another actress that spoke out against Palestine, and she got sacked as well. So all the film companies, they're all owned by Jews, guys. You can see all these kids stuck in rubble. There was a really good Andrew Tate interview with Mr. Pierce. I don't know if you guys seen it, but you should see it. I'll play a clip.
Short man syndrome, but he's always behind his desk calling about how important it is that big, strong men like me go and die. And the reason he tweeted that and said that is because when Hamas and Israel, very early in the conflict, I think it was 3 days in, were discussing possible peace talks, he tweeted, no, absolutely not. Fuck them, kill them all. And I said, Ben, as a man who's done his own fighting, because I've had a life of pain and violence, listen to me. Peace is always worth a conversation. What I said is that we should always be prepared to at least discuss peace. He, because he's a warmonger, said, no, peace is not worth a conversation. Behind his desk, he must have a booster chair, and he's always running his mouth trying to invoke violence and call for war. And I find it kind of hypocritical, because a man who's so small he would die if he was slapped on the street, sitting behind a desk and screaming for other people to be annihilated, I think is kind of, it's worse than
I actually
hypocritical. It's insane.
I believe if he was sitting here listening to this, he would say that what he's screaming for is for Jewish people in Israel to defend themselves. And he's a Jewish man.
All Ben does is call for war. And I agree. Defending yourself.
That's not all he does.
That's all he does.
It's
and
not.
Calling for war and defending yourself is very different than genocide. And Ben, like I said, overall, most of Ben's worldviews and mine probably align. We don't align on the religious sect. We don't rely on the religious points. Fine. But our overall worldviews about how society should function probably align on many of the key issues. I don't have a beef with Ben, and I don't watch his show, and I have no idea.
Anyway, you've seen enough, guys. I think watch the whole interview. It's very, very good if you get a chance. I wanted to also talk about it's really good Chinese submarine technology coming out. But I wanted to talk about the Chinese chip wars that they are losing. Oh, this is a meme with India and Israel. So funny. No. Okay, let me try and find this. I think it's a Bloomberg article. So I'm just going through this Bloomberg article, and I think it's this one. Just gonna share it with you guys. So there's a couple of articles, and this is one of them. It says new front is opening up in the US-China conflict over chips. And that's one of the articles. And there is another article basically coming out of Bloomberg. And they are basically saying that they have lost the chip wars with China. And the fact that, companies like Huawei, SMIC are basically doing 7 nanometers chips. And next year, they're coming out with photonic chips and graphene chips as well. And now they're saying that the next chip front is the chip packaging. And anybody who knows anything about chip packaging, China is leading the front with chip packaging. They lead it by 90% because 90% of the world's goods go to China, and China does the final repackaging, and that's what gets sent out to the rest of the world. So China is basically top dog when it comes to chip packaging, and that's a new front that's coming out, and United States cannot do anything when it comes to chip packaging to stop China from chip packaging technologies. But what China can do is stop their chip packaging technology going to other countries. So this is what America is basically trying to say, is that China is already catching up in other fields. And because China is taking such a huge lead in chip packaging, other countries might get the same treatment that the US has given to China, that China might start basically doing sanctions against United States companies and Korea and Japan with their chip packaging software and technology. And I think, and that's what they're trying to say, that that's going to happen that's going to be the next chip war front. There is another article I saw as well. It's about SMIC and the fact that all of these sanctions they've placed on SMIC. Oh, here it is. All of these sanctions that they've placed on SMIC have all failed, and they've basically given up. They've given up on Huawei, and they've also given up on SMIC. And you can see here in this article, and because it clearly says how Huawei's chip maker turned US sanctions into a China success story. So it says SMIC helped make 7nm chips despite harsh US controls. Breakthrough catalyzes boiling tensions between US and China. And the article is through a paid service, but I managed to get hold of the full article. There are websites where you can get past the paywall and stuff. And the whole article is basically trying to say that this chip war was a complete failure for the United States, and it's been a failure because because what the chip war has done is basically galvanized the Chinese economy and is galvanized the Chinese people, because the Chinese people looked at it as a major challenge. And throughout history, the Chinese people and Chinese race and Chinese civilization, throughout history, they've always overcome challenges. So, for example, the nuclear weapon, for example, United States threatened to bomb China many times with a nuclear weapon, and this is one of the reasons they didn't take back Taiwan back in the day, because the United States threatened to nuke China many times. They threatened. So China wanted to build its own bomb. They wanted Russia's help, but Russia decided not to help China. So China basically saw this as a great challenge, and they managed to build their own nuclear bomb without the help of any country, really. The second one is obviously building their own military. I mean, a lot of people don't realize that China had an arms embargo ever since the 1980s. They tried to use Tiananmen Square as an excuse, but back then the West always knew that China would rise. If China does rise up, it will be a very dangerous country. So they've never really sold any arms to China. Also because of Taiwan as well, because they didn't want China to become more powerful than Taiwan. Taiwan was heavily armed at the time. Taiwan was like the Israel of Asia. So Taiwan was heavily armed by the United States, and China's military did not even come close to Taiwan back in the day. So China had to build its own military. And one of the reasons they didn't like to arm China is because of the Korean War and the Vietnam War. And they knew that in the Korean War, Chinese kicked United States asses, and in the Vietnam War as well. So this is why, the United States did not want any friendly countries to sell any arms to China. So China's next challenge was to build its own military. And obviously they've had the help from Russian engineers. They bought lots of Russian planes and jets, and but however, all of the military that you see China has built, most of it is built by them. 99% of it is pretty much built by them. All the new jet fighters like the J-20, J-10s, J-16, J-15. Yeah, they are based on designs from, you could say they're based on designs from Russian jets, but and other jets as well, maybe even Western designs as well. But end of the day, it's still Chinese made, homegrown Chinese made. Chinese engineers made it, Chinese products, all the Chinese suppliers, and now the technology has actually surpassed some of the Western technologies as well. So the arms, so they've managed to build their own jet engines, which is absolutely amazing. There's only a few countries in the world that makes jet engines. I think there's only like 4 or 5 countries. One is United States, another one's Britain, another one's France, another one's obviously Russia, and obviously China's now in the mix. And the other challenge that China had done is China was banned from the space station, the International Space Station. So China decided to build their own space station, and now they have surpassed the West. You know, they have the technology in China's space station is far above what the International Space Station does, and it could outlast the International Space Station as well, because the Russian component of the International Space Station is gonna disappear because Russia's pulled out of it. So they are going to have trouble keeping the space station afloat in the atmosphere of the next 5 to 10 years. So they're probably going to discontinue it, which means the Chinese space station is the only thing that's going to be left. Excuse me. So the whole point I'm trying to make is the Chinese have always had challenges throughout their history, and they've always managed to overcome it. And the latest challenge was the chip. And all of these sanctions has basically propelled the Chinese to work harder, to build their own chip industry. And they are coming very, very close to taking over the Western chip monopoly. They have come, they have built the 7 nanometers chips. Next year, I believe they can go to 5 nanometers. They might even build their own EUV machines. They might use photonic technology to speed up chips. Who knows? But end of the day, I think next year 2024 is going to be the year of the Chinese chips, which is going to completely surprise the Western world and take the world by storm. But yeah, you can see all of these articles coming out from the West, and they're already kind of giving up. They're kind of laying the ground for any potential bad news, and they are saying that the reason there is a China success story in chips is because of the US sanctions, and the US sanctions have completely failed. So I just wanted to kind of say that, guys, just to end the show with it. Any questions? Don't forget, any queue for questions from you guys, and I'll happily answer it. Let me go through the list, see if there's any. So Polly says ISS has serious leaking problems. It's losing atmosphere and power shortages. Yes, that's right. It's been going on for years now, and it's obviously very expensive. And I think they just don't have the budget to keep it up anymore. And it's got so many problems. They just don't have the budget to keep up with the maintenance. What other questions do you have? So Morpheus says even the chip tech in the US has Chinese scientists' involvement, and now they're back in China. Yeah, there's I think there's huge amounts of Chinese scientists coming back to China this year and last year, because the Chinese scientists in America, they get treated really bad. They get, they get treated with racism. A lot of them get sent to court because they get accused of, selling technology or selling secrets, and they get their phone tapped. They get their families followed. So if you're a scientist in America, your life is made absolutely crap because they're going to follow you. They're going to make your life hell. They're going to take you to court. They're going to accuse you of selling secrets to China. You might as well just come back to China and live a happy, wealthy life, because with that kind of knowledge, you will live life as a king in China. I mean, why live in America where your kids are going to go to school? You don't know if your kids are going to come back home at that day because, all of these shootings in schools and shootings going on everywhere. There's obviously lots of poverty issues. There's a lot of problems in America, guys. And I think a lot of Chinese that are living in America realize, it's much better and easier just to come back to China, and that way, at least you get treated with respect, and at least your family will be safe. And plus, you get treated like a king with that kind of knowledge that you've picked up in America. You can do something good, not just for yourself, but for your country. Okay, so what other questions do you have for me? Let's see. I'll take a few more, then I'll end the show. Ank says, drink lots of liquids, AJ. Yes, I'm trying. You can tell I've got a bit of a cough. And I think that's it, guys. I don't think we have any more questions. Do you have anyone on Twitter you want to ask any questions? Do you want to say anything? You're welcome to speak if you want. If not, I'm going to call it a day. I don't see any other questions. I have one from Morpheus. See, not just this year. TSMC was helped by one of those. He's been helping Chinese companies and US trying to lock him up. They have been restricted him with many court cases in the past. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I've read a lot of stories that how Chinese scientists and also like technology scientists are just being kind of harassed by the US government, FBI, and the families harassed and stuff. It's just not good. There's no respect. So David says that was the stupidest thing I've seen ever in a long time, choosing Arizona. Exactly. I mean, if you're a chip fab and you need water, you would obviously open your factory in a place where there's abundant water, right? I mean, America's got some great lakes, and you could have opened up your chip in one of those, cities and with a great lake or access to loads of water. But no, you have to open it up in a dry desert where there's not much water left. Water's running out within like 5 years or so. The Lake Mead is going down every single year. Lake Powell is going down every single year. The Hoover Dam is literally not working anymore because it's gone down so far down. So opening it up in Arizona, you're also competing with Intel. Intel has got like a fab in Arizona. You're also competing with other companies who also need water as well. It's just beyond stupid, to be honest. It's just really. I think I made a kind of video yesterday or the day before, and I was saying that TSMC has already lost 77 billion opening up this fab in Arizona. 77 billion, and they've got no subsidies from US so far. Because the only reason they went to build in America was because they were promised subsidies, but they've got no subsidies whatsoever because they couldn't satisfy the subsidy rules. And some of the subsidy rules are really extreme. Things like they have to close all of Chinese fabs, so they can't have any fabs in China. They have to give away secrets, like supply secrets and all other secrets as well. They have to be open. They have to, there's a big list of things, huge list of things, and they couldn't do it. They just said, you know what, this is too much. We'd rather not have any subsidies and go through these lists, these impossible lists. So yeah, 77 billion they've lost, and the price will go up. As you know, with inflation, the cost of construction is going up, cost of everything's going up, cost of water is going up. So things are not looking good for TSMC. And by the time this fab is built and operational, you might see the Chinese fabs opening up as well, which managed to do 5 nanometers, which on a much cheaper basis. And once these Chinese fabs start selling chips for a much cheaper price, it's game over for TSMC. It's game over. They cannot sell chips for such a high price anymore. And they're going to start losing money big time. And all these billions and billions of dollars of equipment that TSMC have bought from ASML, they're going to be pretty much useless. Because if China finds a way to make cheap chips, which are just as fast, without paying for billions of dollars for these EUV machines, then it's absolutely game over. And companies like TSMC and Samsung are just going to fall overnight, and Intel as well, because they will not be able to replace those machines for a long time. And a lot of these machines are on loan from ASML, and even companies like ASML will just fall overnight because they won't be able to sell those machines to companies anymore. Anyway, guys, that's all for today. Excuse me. Hope you enjoyed the show, and I hope to see you guys again shortly. So thanks for listening, and I'll see you soon. Thanks, guys.